Thank you so much, Susan, and thank you to all of the incredible organizers and presenters. I've never felt so at home in a conference space. It's so beautiful to have this focus on flourishing because, as all of you know, we could focus entire dissertations on what's broken, on the fact that there's less than 60 years of healthy topsoil left, on the fact, that I, at 25, will live to witness the continual unfolding of the climate crisis. But really, when trying to determine what to come here and speak to you about, I really just want to offer a prayer for the emerging world and my sincere hope that we all may strive to become good ancestors. And so in honoring the ancestors, I send my deepest love, gratitude, and prayers to the ancestors of the land that I'm on, Lenape-Hoking, which is traditionally stewarded by the Lenni Lenape people. And I send my love to my own ancestors, the confluence of both oppressed and oppressor. My mother came from Kiev as a refugee when she was 7 as an Ashkenazi Jew to this country. My father's family, colonizers here in the United States with their roots in England. How can we reconcile our own roots and look at how our ancestors walked upon this earth? And then how can we chart our path forward, knowing that we're all going to do the very best we can to live a life that's in right relationship and reciprocity. And so I recently have heard a term called positive deviance that I love, and that's the focus on what's working. And for me, one of my favorite frameworks for thinking about this is one that I've come to call just reform as reimagination. So what is our most radical aspirational vision for the world that we want to live in? And how can we offer ourselves forth as a stone in the bridge to that world, as Joanna Macy would say? So as these weavers of worlds, as midwives truly of the collective future that's emerging through us, how can we hold that transition? Because each of us has a role to play in this movement from the degenerative world to a regenerative one. And so for me, I work in the space of regeneration at this place called the Rodale Institute. And I'm working on something called regenerative healthcare, which we're weaving the connection between healthcare and regenerative organic agriculture, thinking about how our own health is deeply interwoven with the health of the planet. And so how we tend our soil directly correlates to our own well-being. And so in order to address how we're engaging with the planet, we have to reframe ourselves and regenerate our own webs of relationship, community, and how we see ourselves not as rugged individuals, but rather as cells in a living, breathing earth. And so once we're able to repair that relationship, and not just through a cognitive lens of saying, okay, I know that I need to, take care of my planet, and we can't logic our way out of the climate crisis. It's really a somatic crisis, as so many people have illustrated here today, where we have to feel in order to heal what we're moving through as a planet right now. And so I just so appreciate everything everyone shared, because it's right on target with that. I mean, truly, Earth doesn't need saving, but rather our conscious cooperation and choice to choose a different path forward. And I loved what Yuria shared at the beginning about relationality is the seed. I could not agree more. I think our highest role is to step into that role of caring and stewardship, and an innate way of being that just simply asks us to remember our role is connected to everything. So, thinking back about our systems and how we operate in a world of regeneration, I always think about what systems are in need of composting to then become the fertile soil that we'll plant our seeds into. So I'd love if people can throw in the chat, what seeds are you planting for the future that we're hoping to co-create together? And how do you hope to tend to those seeds? Because, I, as a young person, will hopefully get to even try some of the fruits of my own seeds. But even if, I'm not around to do that in the future, knowing that someone else will be able to do so is what's important to me. And something else I often think about is our need for localization. How can we take a roots up approach to societal well-being versus top down? How can we think about care economies and divest from the colonial mind that focuses on extraction and focuses on exploitation, and how much can we gain, but really shifting into those economies of care and well-being, thinking, what can I offer? How can I give? I always think of it as we must be more like bees and less like betta fish, because if you put two betta fish in the same tank, they're going to cannibalize one another. But rather being like bees, what gardens can bloom in the wake of an interconnected humanity? When we're consciously engaging with the world around us, saying, how can I touch this and have something flourish? That sparks a whole different humanity that shifts us immediately into a new paradigm. And so in the spirit of transforming, the only way out is through. And I so appreciate, Susan, you sharing about the inner development goals. That's the first I've heard about it, and I would love to get involved, but truly the only way out is through. Going inward is one of the most important ways out of the challenges we're navigating, because if we can all awaken to our role, our eco-psycho-spiritual role and connectedness to everything, we're not going to be searching outside of ourselves for something to fill the void that we're feeling in the wake of our own disconnection from nature. So, circling back, the types of changes we really need cannot be intellectualized, but felt. And I have a theory called the dandelion theory that I'm hoping to sit down and fully write out someday. It'll happen. But really, it's a theory of perspective, positing that perspective is much less a spectrum than it is a sphere. So each point on that sphere is a unique perspective, like the individual seed and the white fluff you see on the outside of a dandelion, whereas the center is where all perspectives would intersect and interrelate, being the closest thing to truth, only made more multidimensional and enhanced when we can be inclusionary of more perspectives. Thinking about the cosmos look entirely different when you're standing on another planet or in another solar system, but that doesn't make the perspective from that planet any less real, just simply adds to the dimensionality of what we can currently understand. And so the full vision of the cosmos would be held as the sum of all possible perspectives. So how does that relate to our current ways of being? We get so caught up in the binary duality, us versus them, that we forget the vast amounts of nuance, uniqueness, and value of each individual perspective. We forget to honor the lived experience of one another as equal to our own, even if drastically different. And each of us has a unique, essential role to play in making the sphere more whole, more complete. We must transcend the illusion of separation and truly feel our interconnectedness, to remember that within each of us, there's a seed to plant. And, there's Valerie Carr has a concept called revolutionary love. And so in closing, I hope that we can each tap into the spirit of revolutionary love, into the heart space, knowing ourselves as part of one giant living, breathing earth and consciousness, and feeling our interconnectedness to all life and to one another here. I loved the exercise earlier where we could see one another. It was truly beautiful. So may we each be strands in a great mycelial network, and just together we can envision and co-create the world rooted in interdependence that is birthing through us. So I'd encourage you to continue with the meditation of what is being composted, what a world is emerging through us, and what seeds are we planting. Thank you so much for having me here today.